Candace Owens, it is time that somebody stood up to you and held you accountable, not just for your rhetoric and your lies and your besmirching of an entire nation, but more importantly, because the fact that you have taken Charlie Kirk's death and made it all about you in the most cynical, revolting, shocking, and embarrassing way. It's not just about financial gain for you, it's about infamy. It's about taking something that has such an amazing opportunity to create a huge change in the right and using it for your own ambitions, for your own hatred, for your own goals. We can all see it. It is clear as day. You getting online and providing all of this super provocative, out of context, factual information, when in fact you're avoiding all of the receipts. And don't worry, I've got all of those receipts prepared for us today. We'll review everything, every claim that you made, every attempt you made to smirch Jews and Israelis' names left, right, and center, all in the name of your friendship with Charlie Kirk. But first I want to start with the most poignant thing, the reminder that you are doing the nastiest thing that you could be doing to the Kirk family. Instead of allowing them to bury Charlie in grace, instead of allowing for Charlie's legacy to become what it should have become, a massive movement of love and free speech and movement towards Israel and America and family and religion, you have made it about infighting, about hating on each other, about trying to blow out conspiracy theories all so that you can get paid more, putting so much of the evidence behind a paywall, putting adverts in your content, knowing that the more controversial you can be, the more of a chance that you have down to go in infamy. Have you no shame? No shame to your friend who is turning around in his cave right now, in his grave, mourning the fact that you could take something so sacred as what he gave to you with Turning Point and just do this to his wife and his children, to his community? Have you no shame? But we know that you don't. So let me start because as you are somebody of so much faith, let's talk about what the pastor, Charlie's friend, had to say. Pastor Rob McCoy started Turning Point with Charlie from my understanding, but you would know better because you were there and you were his friend, apparently, allegedly, even though with friends like you, Candace, I hope I never have friends that define friendship the way that you have decided to. But it's not my words that are of importance today. Let's read what he has to say after you have gone on this campaign, this revolting, shocking, and painful campaign. Charlie Kirk was my friend and I was his pastor. I want to simply say this regarding Candace Owens. Charlie Kirk was a friend to Candace and never publicly spoke poorly of her through he disagreed with her. He never operated nor entertained gossip or innuendo concerning Candace. My only comment that I offer regarding Candace is this. I only wish at this tragic time of mourning that she would be the friend to Charlie that he was to her. He would never have treated Candace or her family in such a way had, God forbid, this tragedy been hers. A friend loves at all times. Candace, it is so sickening to see. But seeing as it's become clear that a heart is non-existent in your world, that you don't have emotional abilities, that you don't have the ability to actually see right from wrong, let's actually talk about the receipts, the enormous amount of receipts that you've been asking. You see, you have this thing. You love to say, oh, provide me the proof, provide me the timestamps, and then you don't do it yourself, which I always find really, really interesting. I'm best friends with Charlie. But no proof of you and Charlie being really close over the last few months, which I feel like would be one of the most easy things to present to the public. You go out there saying, oh, he only has one wife, but you act as if you're the official spokesman for Charlie, as if you are the wife, as if you know best, as if this murder only impacted you, when we all know that that's not true. And so yesterday, you came out trying to defile 4 Jews in this podcast. You came after 4 different people: Bibi Netanyahu, Bill Ackman, Seth Dillon, and obviously your personal favorite, Ben Shapiro. You came after them with such revolting, shocking allegations, and you said, if anyone could provide the receipts, then I'm incorrect. Prove them, provide them. And what did you do? How did you create this story? Well, first you had to set the premise. You had to create the reality in which Charlie was turning on Israel. Now, I want to say something pretty simply. Even if Charlie had turned on Israel, even if Charlie had become the biggest hater of Israel, that was not what he wanted his legacy to be. He was still in the stages of trying to figure it out, trying to talk about it, trying to understand. And I'm being graceful here. I'm being graceful to you, saying, yeah, maybe Charlie Kirk hated everything to do with Israel and Bibi Netanyahu, as you and Tucker Carlson have claimed, but yet he's still undoubtedly devoted almost his entire life to loving Israel, pushing for Israel, supporting Israel, and believing in Israel. And you don't have any sort of awareness or understanding that that legacy might not be something that he wanted tarnished just yet. Even if he was on that journey, he never got to finish that journey. And therefore, it is not up to you to decide that that journey should be made public. That would be on his wife, Erica, on his children, on Turning Point to say, hey, we were having these internal discussions about a shift in policy, and maybe we'll take that forward. It was not on you to decide that you get to expose it to the public. Specifically when we know how much he did love Israel and how it was important to him that anti-Semitism be curbed in America, that we figure out the relationship with Israel. We know that Charlie Kirk's number one belief was free speech. His number one thing that he pushed beyond anything. And that could have been your focus. Your focus saying he disagreed with so many opinions. He brought Tucker Carlson on. He's kept me as a friend because he loved free speech. Let us savor that. But no, instead you decided to go after a niche thing, something that he was doubting and debating. And to do that, you decide to come after some Jews in proof of it. Proof of something that you alleged you had receipts, but clearly didn't. And now, when the people that you have been coming after are posting online the proof that what you are saying is incorrect, disregarding it completely. You're not talking about it. You're not focusing on it. Because what you should be doing is making an apology video this moment and saying, hi, this is what Bill Ackman has to say. You came after Bill Ackman claiming that he's this guy who became a billionaire and we don't really know how, etc. Bill Ackman presented a very clear tweet about 6 months ago after the whole Tucker Carlson fiasco. You remember that? A very clear tweet and exactly how he got all of his money. It's clear as day. He breaks it down and he had no obligation to. But he told the world because he had nothing to hide. This is how I became a billionaire. Not because I'm a manipulative, terrible person who stole it, but because I built it from my own. That is the American dream. But you sit there being all like, I'm one of the people. This man's a disgusting person. He hates us. He's this Jew. He's this terrible, terrible thing that just wanted to manipulate Turning Point. When in fact, Bill Ackman is a good person who truly, truly believes in America and in the future and who has given a ton of money to positive things like Turning Point. As a Jew, he supported a Christian organization because freedom of speech was of importance to him. And when you decided to bring out this crazy, creepy, special meeting that happened with these influencers, besides the fact that you sounded unbelievably jealous, may I say, was it a little hard for you, Candace, that you were invited to the Hamptons to hang out with the people who used to be your friends? You're not listening to what any of them have to say. Xavier DeRusso, Seth Dillon, Josh Hammer, people who were actually there. Charlie's head of his team came out in a statement, which I'll read right now, saying exactly what happened at this so-called meeting in which apparently, allegedly, Bill Ackman staged an intervention and tried to persuade Charlie into receiving tons of money from Bibi Netanyahu because he just hated him so much. Let's read it for a second. This is from Andrew Colvett, one of the most senior people in Charlie's team and somebody who worked with him every single day. I've been asked about the Bill Ackman event more than a few times now, so I asked our staff who are traveling with Charlie to find out what's true and what's not. His team was with him 100% of the time when he wasn't in his hotel room. Here's what they told me. Bill never yelled at Charlie, never pressed him on Bibi, never gave him a list of Charlie's offenses against Israel. There was concern raised about having Tucker at SAS. We don't believe that this actually came from Bill, and Charlie's reply was, honestly, people telling me not to have Tucker Tucker makes me want to have Tucker, and I'm going to lock him in for AmFest too. Charlie personally told me that he had a very cordial relationship with Bill and the event was productive. These are the facts. This was then corroborated by Josh Hammer, who was at the event, and by Xavier DeRusso, who, according to your claims, you sent Max Blumenthal, this guy, after to speak to, and Xavier posted yesterday saying, "Excuse me, I was drunk on a boat in Italy on holiday when I received a phone call from somebody who I didn't know who was asking me questions, and I got mad at him because as a public personality, it bothered me that somebody got my number. So I was asking him how he got my number, and he wouldn't give me that information, so I didn't provide him any sort of things. I didn't provide him any information because I had no idea who it was." That you kindly and calmly have just passed over. Xavier, Josh Hammer, so many other people, the team of Turning Point itself, who were all at this event, have said what Candace is saying is bullshit. It's not true. It's just not what happened. Bill and him seem to have a very good relationship. It was actually an amazing experience. And now you're coming after the event being like, oh, it was all the pro-Israel. But actually, everybody who was there is saying it wasn't a pro-Israel event. There was a lot of debate. It was focused on the ability to debate. You see, Bill and Charlie had a conversation beforehand, and I know you've read Bill's tweet, in which he goes into the details of what the point of this was. Charlie wanted more Charlie Kirks. He wanted more people who could go out and debate. And to do that, he wanted to not just train people, but identify people who had the ability to not be emotional in the conversation, but to only base it on facts. And so he brought a bunch of people together with a lot of different opinions for them to debate. And he only came after people who started using emotional reactions instead of logical ones. That's where the big controversy happened. They were debating different things, and he would say, hey, that's not correct. You're using emotional over logic. That won't work if you go on campus. And then he told Bill Ackman afterwards, hey, we spoke about this. We've figured out some people who could potentially take on the Charlie Kirk torch, who can debate properly. That was a big part of what was going on. They wanted to figure out people who had the ability to stand up and actually talk about different things. And so they intentionally brought pro-Israel and anti-Israel commentators, people who had different opinions, to discuss the different topics. This was not a pro-Israel fest like you're making it out to be. It was a pro-America discussion, bringing in some of the most important conservative influences to actually spend some time together and figure out how they can make America a better place. Now, you allege that Bill and Charlie were in a big dispute because Bill wanted to pull out all of his money because everything was going on with Tucker Carlson. And yesterday, of course, Tucker Carlson also comes out in this video talking about everything that's going on, in which he says two main things. Number one, insinuating that Bibi Netanyahu is against Christianity, which is such rubbish. And he makes it sound like this is a Christian versus Jewish conflict, the only point that you guys have left. But then he decides to continue to go after Bill Ackman and focus on the fact that, this was a conversation of free speech. And as I said at the beginning of this video, what's very clear about Charlie is that his number one priority was free speech. And he wanted to give Tucker a platform. And whilst I disagree with Tucker's opinions, I totally agree with Charlie saying, hey, if this is what this guy wants to do, I believe in that. And when donors said, we don't like this and we don't want to give money to it, that is their prerogative, because as donors, they want to support things that they agree with. And Charlie, his ability to say, hey, I have backbone, I believe in free speech, and it's more important than deciding what opinions our people should have, that is something that everybody should be celebrating and focusing on, not turning it into proof. Disgusting, despicable proof of how much he was hated and how much pressure he was under, and maybe that's why Israel came after him. You've totally misconstrued what was really going on. Charlie Kirk believed in free speech, and he wanted to give Tucker that platform. Good for him. Now, you're also saying that Bill Ackman, as you can see in this tweet over here, in this text message over here, hated Charlie. But let's read this, because I don't know about you. This is not how lack of cordial relationships looks like. This is not what two people who hate each other look like. Charlie Kirk, how are you? This is from Bill Ackman to Charlie. I'm doing great. Really enjoyed our time together last week. Thank you again for doing that, for bringing out these influencers to have these conversations. It was great, and great to get to know you better. We should do dinner sometimes with the ladies. That sounds like somebody who's blackmailing Charlie. Absolutely, that would be awesome. Let me know when you're in New York City and we'll have you over. Thank you, I will. We are there a few times this fall. Great, just let me know. This is an example of a receipt that Bill Ackman provides saying, Candace, you are lying. There are so many other examples. Like Seth Dillon, let's talk about that. So you posted a bunch of texts that you sent to Seth saying, hey, Seth, give me a response. And Seth said, yes, I was actually at this event. But one second, let's read this message that Seth received from the Turning Point team, the team that was Charlie's everything. Hi Seth, you've been in my thoughts and prayers this week as I know it's been a hard week for all of us. I'm reaching out here as we are hearing that there are reporters and influential figures looking for information about the Hamptons and have reached out to several people already. These people have no good intentions during a time when we mourn our friend. Please do not respond or make comment, and please send me any screenshots of messages you've received about this. Please let me know if there's anything I can do for you during this time. This doesn't come from a random person. This comes from Turning Point USA, who are saying there are people out there cynically using Charlie's death, taking events that were supposed to be good and of benefit, trying to figure out how we expand Charlie's legacy and using them in a bad way. Seth, don't respond. That's the reason he didn't respond, because Seth, instead of trying to clear his name, actually has more of an alliance to the people who believe in Charlie, who actually love Charlie, who fought every day for Charlie, something that you, Candace, can't seem to understand, even if it hits you over the head. When Turning Point, this guy Andrew Colvett, was asked about what is going on, he said, "We're seeing it all and we have good lawyers. You are doing everything in your power to desecrate Charlie's legacy, to desecrate Turning Point." But here's the good news. There have been a request from over 30,000 new Turning Point chapters. The people are speaking in of themselves. They realize, they understand, they accept that a change needs to happen. And your attempt to besmirch Charlie's name to this point, it's not going to work. You went after Ben Shapiro in the show, saying, "Ben, if you dare to take Turning Point's torch, if you dare to take Charlie's torch," and you didn't say him by name, but we all know exactly what you're talking about, "I'll come after you, and that's not a threat, it's a promise." And then guess what Turning Point USA did in response? They brought the Daily Wire team to host Charlie Kirk's show. In another little bit of an F you, Candace, because they're trying to say, actually, Daily Wire is aligned with our goals, and we like Ben Shapiro, and he has done so much for humanity in a similar way to Charlie, and now Ben's promising to give $1 million to Turning Point, and you'll manage to turn that into something negative as well, because that's what you do best. But Turning Point have made their line very, very clear. We are not happy with what you're doing, Candace. So just stop it. And if you won't stop it, we're going to have legal ramifications. And we loved everything that Charlie stood for. He stood for free debate, which is why we're inviting Tucker Carlson, who, yes, did another yucky, revolting interview yesterday in which he talks about whatever, all of these claims. And we know that the Tucker Candace team is just a little revolting and uncomfortable for everybody to watch. But Tucker was somebody that Charlie defended to his end of his days. He didn't defend you, I'll remind you. He didn't say that what you were doing was okay, but he wanted to give Tucker a platform. He wanted that other side of debate. And so therefore he's also been invited to speak at the burial, at the funeral, which, as highly controversial as that might be, that was his right because he believed in freedom of speech. But you haven't been invited. And I'm sure that hurts a little bit. And I would say that you're not too far gone and you come back, but you can't. Because you bringing advertisements into your videos, you putting the receipts behind a paywall, it is such a cynical way of using Charlie's death. I mean, some people out there are saying you're trying to make money off of this so you can handle the Brigitte Macron legal cases. And honestly, I hope that Ben Shapiro, Bibi Netanyahu, Bill Ackman come after you legally. I hope they bury you in paperwork till the end of your days. May you live a very long and quiet life. I hope that they bury you and they make you pay for everything that you have done, for the fact that you have taken what should have been a beautiful legacy and turned it into infighting. The exact thing that Charlie was trying to fight, the radicalization of America, opening it up to debate and discussion, you have turned it into hating on one another. And poor Mrs. Erica Kirk, who yet hasn't even buried her husband. She has to deal with your atrocious allegations, turning Charlie's death from what should have been a moment that the entire American people rose up to a moment of massive hatred and anger towards one another. I hope you're sitting with yourself and struggling. I hope you're uncomfortable and you're in pain. I hope that you can't stop till the end of your days regretting this. The fact that you made this all about Israel, something that Charlie loved. The fact that you made this all about yourself, something that Charlie didn't love. The fact that you made this all about a way for you to gain infamy and to create infighting, something that Charlie was so against. He believed in debate and ideas, and you believe in hatred and shutting other people down. I hope that you pay for this for the rest of your life, Candace Owens. I really do.